nice to see. And you're staying and you're going to rebuild and everything else. Yeah, everybody. So it's really good. So I'm signing an executive order to open up the pumps and valves in the north. We want to get that water pouring down here as quickly as possible and let hundreds of millions of gallons of water flow down into Southern California. And that'll be a big benefit to you. If you don't want it, you're going to tell me, but I can't imagine it. I tell you who does like it is the fire department. When I said that, they were very happy with that. They didn't mind hearing that. But we have a lot of water that is available. And I hope you can work that out among yourselves. But I think this will show that we have to have that water. We have to have that water. You're talking about unlimited water coming up from the Pacific Northwest, even coming up from parts of Canada. And it pours down naturally. It has for a million years. For a million years, it pours down. You'll never run out. You'll never have shortages, and you won't have things like this. And when you do, you'll have a lot of water.
Okay, so that's an example of someone trying to convince the public of something. That is someone making assertions that are fact-free. And that someone is having a strong impact on how people are thinking about this particular fire. So one of the reasons you all are going to be the type of folks that document stuff, that grab the evidence, that hold the evidence, and then show the evidence when you make your argument, is so that you do not behave in that manner, right? So let's look at a augmented this, and so we'll just watch a quick 4 minutes of this. We're not going to watch the whole hour and a half, but let's look at the same thing, but just the first 4 minutes.
Thing would be great. For a building permit, you're going to have to, check things out a little bit. A lot of them, every single one of them said they're going to rebuild. I didn't have one person say they're selling or they're leaving or they're disgusted. They love their community, and it's incredible. We even had one from your neck of the woods, right? Yeah. Do you want to stand up? It was so nice the way she greeted my wife in a very different language, right? And it was very nice to see. And you're staying and you're going to rebuild and everything else. Yeah, everybody. So it's really good. So I'm signing an executive order to open up the pumps and valves in the north. We want to get that water pouring down here as quickly as possible and let hundreds of millions of gallons of water flow down into Southern California. And that'll be a big benefit to you. If you don't want it, you're going to tell me, but I can't imagine it. I tell you who does like it is the fire department. When I said that, they were very happy with that. They didn't mind hearing that. But we have a lot of water that is available. And I hope you can work that out among yourselves. But I think this will show that we have to have that water. We have to have that water. You're talking about unlimited water coming up from the Pacific Northwest, even coming up from parts of Canada. And it pours down naturally. It has for a million years. For a million years, it pours down. You'll never run out. You'll never have shortages, and you won't have things like this, and when you do, you'll have a lot of water to put it out. So I'm going to ask that you figure that out, but I really strongly recommended this 7 years ago, and I think I'm going to just do it. If you have big problems, you're going to let me know, but I just can't even imagine it. But we're also surging federal resources and assistance to the state. And California must adopt the common sense policies to prevent fires. And we all know that. We were talking 7 or 8 years ago, I was talking to people from Austria, people from Finland, people that live in forests. One of the gentlemen, one of the top great leaders of Austria said, we don't have forest fires, and we have trees that are actually far more flammable than they have in California, but they literally rake their forest. They take down, if a tree comes down, they take it down. They say you have 18 months. After that, it's like a matchstick. And I know environmentally, some environmental groups like the trees to just melt into the ground. But when they do melt into the ground, they become an inferno. So I think you're going to have to change your ways in terms of that. You have 30 years of leaves, and those leaves are dry as a bone, and they burn. You know, interestingly, because I was at Paradise, who is the general, right? A long time ago, I was at Paradise. What a beautiful paradise it was. And how is it doing, by the way? Are they rebuilding, right? Remember when he said, you were up here, President. I went there. I never saw anything like it. But you know what amazed me? I'll never forget it. The trees were okay, because the trees are loaded with water. They sucked that water out of the ground. And this was an inferno, just like, I would say, no different than this. And it was also the wind that caused a lot of problem. I mean, you had tremendous winds that there's not a lot you're going to do with. You had up to 100-mile-an-hour winds. It's unheard of. But when I was in Paradise, I noticed that the trees, they were dark on the bottom, but they were absolutely living, and they lived because they're soaking wet. But the trees that were on the ground, within 12 to 18 months, they say 18 months at a maximum, you have to cut them up, take them away, because they're matchsticks. But we saw that. You saw that with me. I commented at the time. I said, look at this. The house is burned down, and the tree is standing, and it's, other than being a little different color on the bottom, and it went through an inferno. It's amazing. It's soaking wet. So I think they have to do it. It's called management of the floor. And when the gentleman from Austria and also Finland and other countries, they said we manage the forest floor very, very carefully, and we don't have forest fires. You know, they just don't have them. So I'm sure you're going to do the same thing.
The point there, again, was not to get sucked into some type of political discussion, whatever, but rather the importance of citing your sources, the importance of citing facts, and then telling people where you got those facts, as opposed to just pulling stuff out of thin air or just fantasizing what you think and what would be nice if it were to be like this, right? And so that practice of documenting stuff, of collecting your evidence, how am I going to know that this is true? And then you share that with folks. So one, you should be skeptical of the things I say, right? I'm not thinking that everyone's actively trying to deceive you, but you want to be skeptical. And when I say, oh, the UCLA said that the vegetation is 25% drier now than would have been if we did not have all this carbon pumped in the atmosphere on average, you can go check it. You can go read that report. You can go see what that document was like. If I said this direct quote from this person said that this is what happened, you can go and read the newspaper article and see the direct quote yourself, right? And so you should get in that habit. Of course, we're not going to go read every single paper, every single line, every single time somebody says something, but you do want to dip your toe in the water every so often. And particularly if the claim that I make, whoever makes, sounds just totally awesome or totally different than what you thought or whatever, check that, right? Maybe he misspoke, maybe he grabbed the wrong idea. Is that really right? You should get in the habit. Do not trust that just because someone says something, they're 100% right all the time, right? And again, this is what you've all been trained to be stupid. You've all been trained to just trust whatever barfs up on your computer screen, and that is dangerous. That's dangerous for a democracy. That's dangerous for understanding the complexities of environmental management and all that kind of stuff. So to help with that, we have a tool you guys can use, and that is a free tool. All these things are free that we're talking about, and that is Zotero. So Zotero is a database, basically. And so it's a reference manager. And so as we're reading stuff, or as you're working on making a write-up for me or whatever, and you're going to cite these 3 papers, right? Before you cite those 3 papers, put them into Zotero. And then when it comes time for you to go write, or do the typing out or the making of the argument, you can just, boom, you can insert them in. So Zotero has a plugin that works with any of our word processors. It works with Google Docs. It works with Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, PC, Mac, whatever. So it's great. Zotero is a program that also by default lives in the web. But it works best if you can download, and it's free, but if you download the free desktop application, it gives you a bit more control. But again, if you're just writing a paper using Google Docs, using the cloud, you could still use that. And so what I've done is I've created a group, a shared group library that you guys can all add to. And while you're also welcome to make your own, personal library, and that's great. This way, if you're doing a group project with a couple of your buds, or I guess we'll do when we get to like working on our posters and stuff, you all have the same shared thing. You don't have to each, type the reference in and all that kind of stuff. And so essentially what this is, it's a way to breadcrumb your evidence, right? So I could grab that little piece and here's that paper and all that kind of stuff. You can do as much as you want with your augmenting of this stuff. You could have your own personal tags for wildfire or recovery or whatever, or you could type more extensive notes. All of that stuff is supported by this guy. And so Zotero is another tool that you guys, I want to encourage you guys to use. Definitely everybody's going to need it for Capstone. There are other options. You don't have to use Zotero. There are other bibliographic management software out there, but this is one that's just, again, free and we can all use collectively and is platform independent. Okay, questions so far? Making sense? Yeah? Okay, so next we're going to talk about ChatGPT, do our ChatGPT exercise, but I've been talking for a while, Zach's been talking. Do you guys want to take a 5-minute stretch before we do that? Yeah? Okay, so let's take a 5-minute stretch and then we'll come back and continue to talk about this.